Okay, this is part 9, and this in this section we're going to go over Daniel and Revelation. Daniel chapter 3 has a mandate for people to worship the image, worship the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up, or die, be put to death. And in Revelation 13 we have the same thing. Antichrist has an image, and unless you worship the image, you're put to death. Very similar. Daniel chapter 3 goes on and has a story about 3 men who would not, young men that would not worship the image that the king had set up. This is Daniel 3:16 through 25. And this is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And the story shows the persecution of these men by the one who demanded the worship of the image. Irenaeus, Against Heresies, Book 5, 29:2, and at the intro it says, the deceit, wickedness, and apostate power of Antichrist. This was prefigured by the persecution of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So he's telling us that this is a shadow and a type of Antichrist to come. He says, pointing out prophetically by what happened to them, this is Book 5, 29, verse 2, pointing out prophetically by what happened to them, the wrath against the righteous, which shall arise towards the time of the end. For that image, taken as a whole, was a prefiguring of Antichrist coming. Cyprian, in his epistles, number 55, chapter 1, verses 2 and 3, says the same thing. He talks about how the end of the world is coming and the time of Antichrist is drawing near, so that we all must prepare to do battle. And he says, let us imitate the 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He says, do they not witness proofs of great courage and faith, and exhort us by their sufferings to the triumphs of martyrdom? Have they not taught us also to die? And this is all in relationship to that story being prefiguring the coming of Antichrist. In Revelation 13 is where we see that if any man does not worship the image or receive the mark of the number of his name, be put to death. This is by Antichrist. We have a harvest being mentioned here. Now, before I go up and explain this, I think it'd be better to let Jesus explain it, because Jesus also taught a parable about a harvest in Matthew 13. Matthew 13, 24 through 30, he tells his disciples a parable about the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sows seed in the field, and when he slept, an enemy came and sowed weeds in there. And when they woke up, they said, wow, didn't you plant wheat? How did these weeds get here? Shall we tear them up? And the master says, no, let them both grow, and we'll gather them together at the harvest. So later the disciples said in Matthew 13 verse 36, they said, explain to us the parable of the tares in the field. So Jesus said, he who sows the good seed is the Son of Man, the field is the world, the good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, and the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. All those things are clear in this Revelation 14. We see the exact same thing. Jesus said that the tares are gathered and burned, and the wheat are the righteous, who shall shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He gathers them and brings them into his kingdom, into the barn. So as we read Revelation 14, you see that there's the same harvest is spoken of, and the one like the Son of Man is obvious, Jesus, and there's a harvesting of the righteous and the wicked. That's the resurrection of the just and the unjust. And this harvest we know is after Antichrist. Again, redundant theme. I hope you'll reread Revelation 14 and see how it speaks to you. What does it say to your heart? And I encourage you in the pursuit of truth. Amen.